Okay, so it's been a while since I updated you on the garden. I'm going to make you laugh, but it is pushing in towards the end of August. Lots of stuff growing. I learned a lot this year, my first vegetable garden. My radishes were a fail. The onions, green onions, fail. The beets have grown beautifully. Look at that beet. I could pull that out right now and eat it, but the longer I leave it in the ground, the sweeter it will get. These are beets too that didn't turn red. Weird. But I've been harvesting a lot of these beet greens, leaving a few leaves on there so they can still keep growing. The carrots too, if I leave them in the ground into the early fall, they will continue to sweeten. So I'm going to do that. Just making little piles here. The bush beans have been a great success. And what I read about them is as long as you keep harvesting the beans off them, the plants will keep growing well into the fall and keep yielding the beans. So I sometimes cut them a little too early. I'm finding that these ones closer to the top tend to be more spiny. But if I get, if I dig into here towards the bottom is where I find the more mature beans. Now these, I just harvested a bunch of these a few days ago, but you see some of those growing. They'll be ready to go in a couple of days. There's a sneaky one. I'm going to go back over here and take a look at some more beet greens. Yeah. Some spiders made a nice little house in here. Hi, spider. Yeah. These look beautiful. I don't know why those ones didn't turn colors. Look at my beans. Look at them. All those little flowers. Oh, look at this. Do you see this? These are the... So far I've had this kind of gentle truce with the Japanese beetles, but it looks like they've started in on the beans. So I'm going to get out here and spray this all with some water with dish detergent to discourage their march forward. The gentle truce I've had with them is that as long as they stuck to my vines over here, I said, okay, go right ahead, eat the vines, but stay away from my garden, you little rat bastards. And for the most part, they've been respectful of that space. But now that you start going after my food, oh, look at that. There's a nice zucchini in there. We can harvest that bad boy. Come on, you. Not quite all the way through. Boy, if I even left that till tomorrow, it would be the size of my thigh. I'm finding I'm not as good at doing this one-handed. But yeah, look at that. Nice zucchini. I'll put that next to my little harvest pile here. Look at that. Then on over here to these cabbages are getting pretty close. These are never going to get big like you would see at a grocery store, but I'm kind of waiting for them to firm up in there, and then I'll harvest those. I can probably come back out again in a few days and harvest some more of these broccoli leaves that are like collard greens. And you see inside here the Brussels sprouts See the little Brussels sprouts growing along the armpits? I don't know what you call that, where the leaves meet the stem. So those are big, beautiful things. Hey, puppies. Neighbor doggies. All right, and I'm about to embarrass myself badly. I have been walking by these plants saying, oh, look at my cabbages. Guess what? I've got a bumper crop of collards happening here. So I am going to start harvesting these. I'm going to kind of break them off from the stem at the bottom and take off a bunch of these and then cook them up. I love collard greens. And by the way, collard greens cook up fantastic in the Instant Pot. I start them with a little bacon and, you know, put them in there. I've got a recipe if you want it or you're interested, let me know. But it's you know, that's basically it. I use the bacon to mostly for the fat. It renders some fat in there. And oh, really interesting. See that? That's Swiss chard. And I thought that I had failed with all my Swiss chard when this one appears to be growing underneath the canopy of the collards. I wonder what that's about. I don't know if that brought down the temperature in such a way that it made them happier. Okay, I just got, look at that, that's all off of one plant. Amazing. So I'm going to come back out and harvest the rest of these after we're done here. I've got another beet plant that I think I'm going to harvest some of these greens off of. I love beet greens. I like them in a salad, or I like cooking them up like spinach. Look at that sad little zucchini plant that never did anything. It's the little zucchini plant that couldn't. And in here, this was, oh, look at that. This was the pepper plant that at the beginning I thought was basil, so I pinched off all of the flowers and it didn't grow any peppers. But now look at that. We got a little pepper guy starting. It said, you're trying so hard that we're gonna let you do it. And I've got some basil. And what I read about this is that you should trim it kind of at a place, at a joint where there's two leaves growing out beside it, right? And not to let it flower. As long as I don't let it flower, it will continue to yield basil for me. And I'm always impatient. I want stuff to happen faster. Gardening has been a really good exercise for me in that department, because, you know, if I go to the grocery store, if I want to make collard greens, I just go to the grocery store and I buy a bunch of collard greens and then I cook them all up at once. And a garden isn't like that. You don't produce enough food. You know, I guess if you had a big crop, that's the whole point of a big crop, right? Is that you can go out and harvest 30 zucchinis at a set and then do what you're going to do with them. It's patient. You go out and you harvest, you know, 20 green beans and a small handful of basil and some greens. But so I've been finding, you know, how I process that I'm freezing a lot of the stuff. Like I just blanched some green beans that I harvested yesterday, and maybe there were 30 of them. It was a good harvest day for the green beans, and blanching them and then freezing them. I'll be able to fish my hand in there and grab out some of those green beans once I've accumulated a large enough number of them in the green bean bag in the freezer. Pretty cool. So I'm adding those beet greens to stash over here with my little zucchini. And oh, I just walked by and saw another zucchini. Yeah, baby. So I'm going to come back when I've got both hands and harvest that other zucchini. How cool. And look at this. Wow. Some more summer squash happening over here. You can see that one is almost ready to harvest. I like these, and there's another one growing. Oops, nice picture of the leaves there. Wherever you see these flowers, those are going to turn into one of the fruit, right? And we see another one. That one's got some type of rot going on. I think it's laying too close to the ground. Yeah, I'm going to call that a failed experiment. But you can see on that one where the flower used to be and it turned into the fruit. So I'm going to throw that on the ground so the little squirrel guy can come have himself as a little summer squash fest. Here I've got some more of the carrots that are cooked. I could pick those any time, but now they're sweetening. My tomatoes were kind of a disappointment. I was very hopeful at the beginning. I've got some fruit still happening, but what was very fruitful at the beginning kind of petered out quickly. So I think I'm going to give some thought and do some reading on how better to do the tomatoes this year. This potato plant thing is starting to flower now. I bet I've got a crop of potatoes in there. So maybe next weekend or the weekend after, I'm going to come out and do the big reveal party on what happened in there. Do I have a bunch of potatoes? Very exciting. Yeah. So what I'm learning from my garden, some of them work, some of them don't. That's okay. Patience. It's yielding me food to eat, but it's doing so in moderate bites. And for somebody who's been a gobbler my whole life, I just gobble. If I like something and it's good, then more of it is better, right? To be acquiring habits around the production that comes out of a garden like this has been meditative and interesting and restful and delicious. And that's our end of August update. I'm going to log off now and go in and harvest that other zucchini and finish harvesting my bumper crop of collard greens. And I think we're going to make some collard greens and eat them up and yum, yum, yum. And those summer squashes and some green beans. And we'll come back in a couple weeks.